Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Pit Stop. And I'd like to welcome today a very special guest, one of the most well-rounded, well-liked presidents we've ever had, and that is the 62nd NBA president, past President Keenan. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot going on your schedule, so I appreciate you taking the opportunity to stop by and visit with us. One of the questions that a lot of our viewers always want to know about some of our past presidents is why did they make the decision to run for a president-elect and eventually president?
And it is a very complex decision. I was vice president for finance. I had completed my term as vice president, and I was looking to be president. I had a lot of support from past presidents who came to me and said, it's your time. You should really do this, and you should announce early. That's the big thing. You want to announce early
Right.
so that people know that you're going to be the one. But a lot of people at that time did not realize that voting rights is my passion. I really believe it is the centerpiece of making sure that we as a people get to where we're supposed to be, or if you will, our promised land. And it just so happened that running that year, I ran in a presidential election year. And with the help of my friends and with the help of people like Barbara Arnwine at Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, we organized the largest election protection program at that time. I believe it has been surpassed by my sister and my colleague, C.K. Hoffler, when she did it in her year. But what's really important here is when you're president-elect, you have to be looking ahead, right? So you're not president-elect, in the year that you're president. You have this time. It's like a run-up. You're running up to it. We're baton passers. And so you have to be looking at the runway of what's in front of you. And for me, that was the election. And I had created all these relationships with the Hispanic National Bar, with the Asian Pacific Bar. And it was really important to me that people see people who looked like them when they came out to vote, because I had learned firsthand, I'm on the board of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, I learned firsthand that the shenanigans and tricks that have been pulled since the beginning of American history are still being pulled. They're still having people stand out front and say, if you didn't pay your child support, you can't be elected. If, they have police in front of the polling stations. And I wanted to be a part of changing that and making sure that our people feel safe when they vote, and that they're able to exercise the privilege that makes us part of a democratic society. So that really was some of my impetus, and I was blessed to have that opportunity. It is a rare privilege to serve this organization. It's not for the faint of heart, but it is for
Right.
people who are focused and who work hard like yourself. I'm so excited for you, Nick. I really believe you represent the kind of person who should be president, because you know that even as you lead, you have to be a worker. So sometimes
Right.
you can lead because you can follow and get the work done.
Exactly. So let me ask you, I'm glad you went into the subject of why you ran and some of the things that were taking place at the time. So you were president in 2004, 2005. So I want to talk to you about something you just said about your work in the civil rights area. So one of my core pillars, I've got four core pillars. The four M's is what I call them, but one of them is mission. To have the National Bar Association get back to being focused on both of its missions, and that is being a premier bar association, but also being a leader in the civil rights front. So let me ask you, fast forward 20 years, is the National Bar Association still relevant? And if so, can you give us your thoughts on why?
Well, first of all, there's never been a time when it wasn't relevant. And if anything, it's more relevant now than it ever was. I mean, all the reasons why you need the National Bar Association are at the forefront. I mean, here we are, and there's an attack on the rule of law. That's like
Right.
attacking who we are. And when you consider the history that we had to earn our way in, if it were not for the National Bar, we would not have had a bar.
Right.
And I know some people think, oh, well, Kim, that's old timey. We live in the modern world, and all that's changed. It has not. It is clear that it has not. The statistics show that it is not. You got to pick. All you got to do is pick up your paper and see that it's not. And the members of the National Bar Association are the difference.
Right.
Sometimes, we are the
Exactly.
ones who open doors. We are the ones who point it out. And I do believe that we all walk in the footsteps of Charles Hamilton Houston. When I was general counsel of the NAACP, when you're on that floor on Mount Hope Drive, the floor where Thurgood Marshall sat, probably behind the desk that he sat behind, that's how old it is. Every day when you walk off the elevator onto that floor, it says a lawyer is either a social engineer or a parasite upon society. And I just kept thinking to myself, well, I can't be a parasite.
Right.
My parents didn't raise
Exactly.
me to be. My parents didn't raise me to be no parasite. So we have to be making a difference, and it takes all of us. We don't all have to be doing the same thing. But I want to say this, Nick. Whenever I've looked out, whenever I see people on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, when you take your magnifier out in that second, third row on the right, you're there. When you talk to someone, to have Derek Johnson from the NAACP come over and spend time with us at our convention last year, that's because he's here because he knows that you are part of that struggle, that you are the people that he makes those calls to. They make calls to the people that they feel comfortable with, that have network connections with them. And it seems to me on many fronts, when I look at what's going on, you're already there. And we need to be on the ground already. We don't need to be getting ready to get on the ground. We need to be on the ground. We need people who have that kind of cachet. And you are that person. Sometimes people think because there's not a lot of showiness, that there's nothing happening over here. But meanwhile, somebody is on the right who's been working the whole time
Right.
and who
Exactly.
has really, really put in the time to be able to be there and do the right things and make those key decisions that loop in the National Bar and let people see that it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. And I think the reason I was such a great NAACP general counsel, there's no question that my National Bar Association history and connections. I mean, I would be sitting there during elections and H.T. Smith would be calling
Right.
me,
Yeah.
and Arthenia would be calling. Florida's always calling. You learn these things, and you
Right.
might have an Aljanita calling you saying this. I mean, you're not alone. You're never alone again. And
Exactly.
this whole notion that a bar is merely a social tool is for people who've been missing out. They've been looking at the shiny, but they haven't been looking at the work that truly happens at the National Bar, and we are getting it done. I don't. You may say, hey, for those people out there who missed that part of the party, I feel sorry for them because the
Right.
connections, the relationships that we
Exactly.
have created here are exceptional.
Right. Well, I just looked up at the clock and it looks like we're running out of time. So, past President Keenan, would you mind coming back for part two of the pit stop?
I have plenty of time to talk about why you're such a great candidate for the National Bar Association.